Hey Patreon, this is Travis. Um, Wanted to do a quick video today on something that I know everyone's already aware of. So in a way, I kind of feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but I think it's something that we all need to be reminded of um, from time to time uh, because it's kind of easy to let it slip sometimes. And that's your internet security, or basically keeping your personal information safe. And I'm going to assume that everyone that's watching this is on the internet because, well, how else would you be watching this? Um, I think it's become something that uh, we're all aware of it. First of all, can't imagine that anyone that would be watching these videos, especially here on Patreon, is not aware of the fact that everything you do is tracked, and that there are people online that aren't who they seem, that they work for different, maybe agencies, maybe private industry, whatever, that's collecting data on you. And I can't imagine that there's any one of you that aren't aware of that. So that being said, be careful of what you talk about online. And the reason why I thought of this to talk about, I was on a group yesterday, and it was a Facebook group on preparedness stuff, preppers. And there was this person on there, and you don't know if they're a legitimate person and they just are oblivious, or if there's someone trying to get information on people. But they posted a question asking for everyone to list all the things that they have, to list how well prepared they are. And this person went into details of their own personal assessment list, and they listed, what kind of equipment they have, that they have a tractor with this type of implements, and they have this many acres, and they're located in this general area, and they have this many barns, and they store this much water, and they have this much food, and this many guns, and this many houses, and structures to live in. They can house this many people, and for this long a time. I mean, it just went into like a lot of detail. On what they have, and then they were asking for others to list their stuff, and I'm thinking, what kind of crazy person gets online, especially Facebook, and starts talking about that kind of stuff? Unfortunately, there are some people, and I'm not picking on anyone because of their age, but unfortunately there are some people that are more elderly that just aren't quite aware of it, of how dangerous it could be. I don't know if that was the case. Um, and I'm not picking on anyone because of their age, so please don't think that at all. But it is true that the elderly tend to be more the ones that are preyed on more and are victims more to like identity theft and crazy internet scams. Maybe because they're just not as in tune with the technology, although there are some out there, that are much older than me that know vast amounts more about, the technology than I do. But that there are people out there that still don't get it, and that don't understand that everything you post online, regardless of where it's at, even this video, um, it's being, held somewhere. Someone has possession of that video, um, and that there's no reason to believe that some agency or some organization, if they wanted to, cannot have access to it. And we have to realize that. And everything that you post online about what guns you have, or what stuff that you have in storage or prepared or stockpiled or anything like that, that kind of stuff is all being it's online. Everyone can find out about it, or anyone that would really matter can find out about it. So we have to be very careful and cautious about what we talk about online. I am. For those of you that's watched my channel for any length of time, you probably noticed that I don't, you don't see me walking around with certain types of big black militaristic dangerous things. You don't see me showing details of where I'm at, whether I'm at home or I'm at another place. I don't talk about that kind of stuff, because as much as I want to get online and help others, encourage others to become more prepared, to encourage others to be more self-sufficient, all those things. I also have myself and my family to think of, and I have to keep them protected. And so I'm very cautious about how much information that I let out, whether it's through my mouth or just what you can see in the background. Um, in fact, some of you don't know this, but because it's Patreon, I will let you know. Many times, I don't even shoot videos on my property. I'm going to maybe a public access area. That way, you know, what you see behind me isn't even where I necessarily live. And I do that, and I try to mix it up and stuff, and I do that because I don't want my personal information out there, at least as little as I can help. So be careful of what you post online. So many times, even the smallest little things about talking about, how much food that you canned this year out of your garden, um, or this great deal that you just found on rice and you bought a bunch of it, or maybe you want to show off some new, it may not even be a firearm, it could be holsters or deal on ammunition or accessories. Well, then you most likely have the firearm to go along with it, right? So be careful. Even the private groups that aren't part of Facebook, these private message boards and stuff, um, it's becoming more and more difficult to keep them truly private. I know that most of you know this. I hope that all of you know this. But this is something that we have to be careful, because um, it's becoming, a few years ago it was happening and people knew about it. Well, now they're out in the open. There's not, they don't even try to hide the fact that they do this anymore. Um, these information centers, these data collection centers have been going on for years now. I mean, 20 years ago, at least 15 years ago. At least 15 years ago, I was doing investigations, private personal investigations into these things, looking into them, and actually made some trips going and trying to visit some of them, or collect as much information on them as I could. So these big data collection centers, they're all over. And they're just basically big warehouses full of computers and data analysts that collect everything that you say and do. It is for real. It's not some, crazy little conspiracy that doesn't really exist, that someone online, cooked it up. It's legitimate. You can find out about it. And they're connected with ones in other countries. So everything that you do online, everything is connected. Everything you do with a phone, your cell phones, your text messages, all that kind of stuff, it's all being housed somewhere. And they may not go through it at that moment, but if they wanted to, if they had any suspicion whatsoever that you've done something, or if they need to just pin something on you, they can go back for years of your data activity, and they can pull it all up, and they can make it look really bad for you. So for your protection, for your family's protection, be very careful about what you post online, what you talk about online, that sort of thing. Even in groups that you think are safe, so many times there's at least one person in there that's not that safe. They may not be working necessarily for someone, but they would definitely, turn you over to them if they thought they had to. And with all these states now with these red flag laws and stuff, it wouldn't take much for someone to say, yeah, well, this crazy guy was saying this stuff online, and he's talking about all of his guns, and the next thing you know, you got a knock at the door. So be careful about what you talk about and what you share, and photographs. And the photographs could show things in the background of that would figure out location. Things like people on their Facebook accounts, they have where they went to school, and maybe places that they visit in their community and stuff like that. So it doesn't take much to figure out where they're at. And so be careful about that. Some people have multiple accounts, so they have one that's may have all that information but doesn't have other things, and that's up to you if you want to do that. But the main thing is to just be careful about what you post, because you never know who's watching and listening. And the general rule of thumb is that there is always someone watching and listening to whatever you say or do when it comes to the internet. That's why they love the internet, because they can watch everything you do. So be careful of that. You should also kind of be cautious of what purchases you make online, because that kind of stuff is being tracked also. You know, I try to buy things in person as certain items. I try to buy in person at stores, where it's, you know, less likely that those purchases can be traced. It's not that I'm buying anything illegal at all, but it's just things that they may not like people like you and I to be buying, you know, bulk supplies and things like that. So be a little cautious about what you're purchasing online and what you're saying online and what you're doing online, because everything you do online is being tracked and recorded. And I know that you probably already know that, but I thought a good healthy reminder would not hurt. All right. Thank you all for watching, and well, I'll catch you in the next video.